We roll out the door, and as we're approaching, you can hear the radio messages confirm it's a fire. You can feel the adrenaline sort of kicking in. We can see the smoke from quite far away, so again, you know then straight away that you've definitely got something. We pulled into the address, and it was very evident that there was a significant fire already sort of fully established. The minute I went round to the back, everything changed. I looked up onto the roof and I could see, just as the smoke cleared, that there was another person still stuck on the top of the townhouse roof, which was quite high. Just managed to very quickly get the 9-metre ladder up. I flew up it, and then luckily, just as the person started to slip, we managed to catch her. It very quickly became evident and got confirmed that it was an e-bike that started the fire.
The most efficient mode of transport ever invented is the bicycle. And funny, the most efficient mode of electric transport is the bicycle. The e-bike has proven itself to transform cities across Europe.
10 years ago, I bought an electric bike, partly kind of to make a point about this was a possible means of transport. What I discovered was actually it's far and away the best way to get around a city like Cambridge.
So what I've seen in New York City over the past 5 years is e-bikes have really grown in popularity. I see the reason why all these people use them. It's understandable. It's a great method of transportation.
Here in the UK, we are seeing a huge increase in the number of e-bikes and e-scooters on our streets. They're an increasingly popular and efficient way to get around. They have become part of everyday life. As e-bikes become more and more common on our streets and in our homes, fire and rescue services have reported an increase in fires involving certain e-bike and e-scooter batteries. The bikes themselves are not necessarily dangerous. The real risk comes from non-compliant, substandard batteries and battery chargers available to purchase that do not have adequate safety checks. There are, of course, reputable manufacturers that are already meeting required safety standards, and those products are not the concern. The risk is not the bike itself, it's the energy in the battery, and more specifically, the type of batteries and chargers that are being used.
My mum moved in this house, brand new, when I was 15. So we've been in this house, there's only our family ever lived in it, so we've been here a long time. So we go to bed about 11 o'clock, in bed. About 1:30 in the morning, heard my son screaming and shouting, "Dad, Dad, the bike's on fire." So the next thing, jumps up out of bed, runs down the stairs. Under the stairs, we had the electric bike on charge. Went to throw the bike out, and next thing, all the batteries fell out. So seconds after they fell out, they just started exploding like hand grenades. All the stairs were wooden, so that went up in seconds. So like I say, that's when I had to run to the sink, get some bowls of washing, bowls of water, throw it on the stairs so they could get down. So it's just pure panic. If he wouldn't have come down for water, we wouldn't have been here. We'd have been dead. And my mum brought 5 of us up by herself. Worked 2 jobs to keep a house like this, and everything's gone now. It might not sound a lot to other people, but to my daughter, it's everything.
Yeah, I met Sophia many years ago when we lived near Heathrow. A very, very special girl. Very, very feisty. She was working in a nightclub, and that's one of the main things that she wanted to be, because she did like to party and the environment of the night. She really, really liked it, because it was New Year Eve, so she worked through the nights, and maybe around lunchtime she went to a boyfriend's house, and then they went to sleep. And the fire started about 1 hour after they went to sleep, which was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. From what the boyfriend told us, it's people were screaming his name, but he was finding it very difficult to wake up because they were tired. Sophia didn't wake up. We opened the door and realized there was smoke coming from the corridor. So we woke up Sophia and told her to jump the window, but she didn't. But Sophia ended up being stuck in the house, trapped inside, and nobody could go up to save her, unfortunately. They tried to put the fire out, but they couldn't, so they had to run upstairs because the bikes were blocking the exit. It was definitely an electrical bike that was on charge, so there was two of them. But the one that caught on fire was one that had been modified by the owner, and that just like the other bike started the fire because one sent the fire into the other. That's what they say, is one battery is equivalent to 6 grenades. So you can imagine, 6 grenades, the explosion of one, imagine 6. Because it's not just Sophia. Sophia is our world, but there's other worlds that are being destroyed. These bikes are completely destroying people's lives. It's preventable. These deaths for me, they were all preventable.
So, why are these batteries so dangerous? The answer to that question is thermal runaway. So why does thermal runaway happen? So thermal runaway is due to the cells overheating. Now that can be due to an internal fault, or it can be down to external physical abuse or electrical abuse such as overcharging. And the cells go into an exothermic reaction, which means they just get hotter and hotter to the point where that heat can't be dissipated to the environment. The internal structure of those cells just gets unstable, collapses, and that turns into venting and toxic fumes that come out of these cells. That then transfers to the next cell, and so on and so forth, and you end up with a really dangerous situation that can't be stopped. So why are these batteries so much more dangerous than the lithium-ion batteries that we use every day in our smartphones and our laptops? Well, it's because they're so much bigger. You have so many cells inside one of these batteries that when one of these batteries goes into thermal runaway, it's like a whole box of fireworks going off in your house. You can't put the fire out in the way that you can with, let's say, a chip pan fire, and that's because the chemical reactions inside this battery can create its own oxygen, so starving the battery of oxygen won't put it out, and that's why these batteries are so dangerous. The other issue that we have with these batteries is you can't charge them with any type of charger, and that problem is increased by the fact that quite often on online marketplaces they will sell you a charger that's designed to fit any battery. So if we take this charger for example, when you buy this charger, regardless of the voltage that you need to charge your battery, it actually comes with a whole set of different connectors that allow you to connect this charger to any battery, and that can cause it to go into thermal runaway, and we have seen this on many occasions. This technology is not inherently unsafe. You know, we use this technology every day in our phones and in our laptops. The problem we are seeing is substandard versions of these products that are quite often bought from third-party sellers on online marketplaces. That's where we're seeing these incidents. You know, if you have one of these batteries that you've bought from a reputable retailer, you can be rest assured that that battery is unlikely to cause you any issues.
With these e-bike fires, like we saw at the Catford house fire, there's no warning, there's no build-up. The best you can do is get everyone out of that property and then call 999 and then get us mobilised. We've identified that it is a real problem. We've also spoken about it and we know it's not going to go away.
In those very early days of cars, there were dramatic photographs of cars exploding in massive fires, and on a smaller scale, it's happening to bikes. But that's not because the technology doesn't exist. That's not because we don't know how to do it. It's because the quality is not being delivered right across the board, and the regulation is not being implemented. Where we are seeing these issues, which create a lot of excitement, because the product is poor quality. It's not being built to the standard. So we have examples where an online retailer is selling something that is potentially very dangerous, knowingly selling something that does not meet the standard. And that's damaging the reputation of e-bikes, which quite frankly are so much fun and should be encouraged. So we need to put this legislation in place to give the customer confidence to back this product and see this revolution hit our cities across the UK.
Other cities and countries have also seen an increase in incidents.
If you go back 10 years ago, I didn't know what a lithium-ion battery was. And as of 5 years ago, it started getting a little bit more popular. We weren't exactly sure of what we were dealing with at first. Then as it started, it came quick. It's changed the game. So how fast they burn, how hot they burn, how they trap people during the day. I've never seen that in my years in the fire service. And as the game changed, we have to catch up to it.
It's a new challenge in the fire service. We let our government officials know what we were seeing here. They really took it seriously, and we did enact some legislation here that requires any micro-mobility device powered by a lithium-ion battery to meet the UL standard that we've adopted here. Local Law 39 has really helped us tackle this problem here in New York City. You're always going to have people that are not going to act in a responsible way. So you need to have legislation, something on the books that we're able to enforce. And that has really worked for us here. We have a lithium-ion battery task force that goes out every single day and inspects those stores. We've been inside every single shop here in New York City, a city of almost 9 million people. Initially, we had some pushback on the stores, and we needed to conduct enforcement. We even made some arrests for repeat offenders.
We're just persistently following up and making sure that they're compliant and trying to keep the citizens of the city safe.
That law applies to not only the brick and mortar stores, but the online retailers as well. So once that law was enacted, we reached out to all of the online marketplaces that we were able to identify. We reached out to the Amazons, the Walmarts. They've been a pretty good partner. They want to work with us, and they have stopped sending those products that do not meet the standard here to New York City. So that went a long way in helping solve the problem.
And so this is no longer centered around New York. Candidly, it's a global issue. And so New York really tackled this head on. Every e-mobility device rented, leased, or sold in New York City must be certified by a third party to 3 UL e-mobility standards. That standard only has its intended impact if it's certified correctly. And that's really where it's important to have a third party certify something, because it is very challenging for legitimate bicycle dealers to do the right thing when they have different standards or different laws in different cities and states. So harmonizing that is going to make it much easier for them to want to comply and do the right thing and sell products that are safe for their customers.
What do you think about the fact that online marketplaces currently don't have to legally check any of the products they're selling on their sites have been properly safety tested?
I mean, you're chancing your arm if you're buying a bike off of eBay. You don't know where it's come from, if it's been nicked or stolen, or if you're going to get one, go to a reputable retailer, I guess.
You often see where houses have gone up and they've found it's been something on charge, an e-bike on charge that's done it. In the future, I would look at getting one, but I would hope by then somebody's sorted the whole messy business out.
It's no matters if it's good or not good. Bikes
I think on the whole, they are good.
I think they should be regulated. They should have fire certificates. You've seen them in flats and things like that. They catch fire. They plug them in overnight and they catch fire. If I had my way, I'd ban them.
Have you ever heard of any incidences of e-bike battery fires?
I have. In fact, I had a friend who was stopping the bike, and after a couple of minutes it actually exploded. So it was quite scary.
Do you think they should bring in laws to make online marketplaces legally responsible for products that are sold on their sites?
Yeah, absolutely. You don't really know if it's actually safe. So I feel like, again, for them to check is also a way of keeping everyone safe and their business safe too.
If I go into a shop and I was to buy a lithium-ion battery-powered e-bike, e-scooter, then the shop has responsibility for that sale. If I buy it online, it is totally unclear who's actually sold it to me. It is totally unclear who has any liability if something goes wrong.
There is new legislation which I hope will make it possible to be able to regulate these things, because the trouble is we've seen too many of these fires. There's a huge risk attached, and I think it's important that only government can do this really, through regulation, to protect people and keep people safe.
Absolutely. And you mentioned that there's new legislation, that's the Product Regulation and Metrology Act. How will that act tackle these issues?
Well, it's setting up a structure within which further legislation can follow, which I hope will be able to deal with some of these specific issues, and that is the expectation.
So what changes with the PRAM Act? Put simply, it gives government the power to strengthen how batteries and chargers are regulated in the UK. It gives government the tools it needs to set clear safety requirements, introduce third-party certification and improve oversight of products sold online, where many unsafe batteries and chargers are currently entering the UK market. Third-party certification of e-bike batteries could also make it far easier to prevent unsafe models entering the UK market at the border. Officers based at ports could verify whether an e-bike has gone through the proper safety testing at an accredited test lab and whether its accompanying certificate is genuine. This more effectively identifies dangerous, non-compliant e-bikes, but also allows more efficient verification and entry for those e-bikes that have gone through the correct and proper certification process. That means unsafe products are easier to identify, harder to sell and easier to remove when risks emerge. It won't stop innovation and it won't penalise responsible manufacturers, many of whom already do these things. But it does close gaps that allow substandard batteries and chargers to make their way into UK homes. And that matters because improving battery safety doesn't just protect riders, it protects everybody who can be affected by the devastating consequences of battery fires.
How will this piece of legislation work to solve these issues?
Well, one of the things I was very keen to do and moved a number of amendments to the legislation was to have amendments that address the whole issue of online marketplaces, but equally to have this issue of certification and so on dealt with. Now, the only way we could do that was to try and develop a category of high-risk products. And the government have accepted that there will be a high-risk category, that there will be special regulations that go around that. And so it's really important that we're now keeping a very close eye and pressing ministers to make sure that that secondary regulation delivers all of the things that we want, not least the third-party certification of all high-risk products, but in particular of lithium-ion battery-related products.
To make e-bike batteries safer, we need third-party certification for the batteries to make sure that they are tested to the standards before they are put on the market. The other thing that's really important that isn't the case at the moment is that online marketplaces are currently not responsible for the items that are sold on their sites. We need to be able to be confident wherever we decide to buy our e-bikes or batteries from. So it's important that online marketplaces are made responsible for the items that are being sold on their sites.
We know the problem exists. Firefighters see it, investigators see it, cities around the world are acting on it, and now so is the UK. The charity is calling for stricter safety requirements, recognised third-party certification for e-bikes and their batteries, and accountability for online marketplaces who are not legally responsible for the safety of the goods sold via their platforms. Real regulation, proper certification, accountability for those who sell unsafe products into people's homes. Because safety shouldn't depend on the arrival of a fire engine. It needs to start at the point of sale, and that begins with the choices we make. If we get this right, e-bikes can be what we envisioned them to be: clean, efficient, and safe.